Hello world, Augustine Cortez coming live from Web3, and today was a very historic day. We got to see a $1 trillion company change their entity and their entire focus to join Web3. And this company was previously known as Facebook, now known as Meta. So this historic event has triggered emotional responses across the spectrum. Some are excited that a company at this scale is focusing on Web3, and a lot are opposed that this conglomerate, technocratic, established, authoritarian, negative press viewpoint company is trying to get into the space. And both sides have good merit. But where I think we are really focusing on now is that Web3 is here, it's established, it's the new era, and the big change like this is a token of validation. I want to give a story on essentially the transition from my personal experience with my family and the early bets that I've proclaimed and having the validity with the event like this back. So I've been into crypto since 2016. I was freshly out of high school, downloaded Coinbase, and I bought some Bitcoin. I knew about Bitcoin earlier, but I just didn't know how to buy it. I wasn't tech savvy. I wasn't computer literate. So I had to figure out essentially the easiest way to buy Bitcoin, and that was through Coinbase. So I bought some crypto, and I didn't look into detail. All I would focus on were market. I stepped into the field more about a trader standpoint rather than a technologist. And that's one of the biggest flaws that I had. I just believe I just wasn't ready to comprehend the scale and power of blockchain. So in 2016, I started telling my friends, close circle, get into crypto, but I was pitching it in the narrative of value for trading. And little did I know that that was just the subjective theory. And if I understood how things worked under the hood, I would have developed much more conviction and bought more and possibly had life-changing money. But we don't live with regrets to that scale here. So fast forward this process, throughout the years, I have been an advocate for crypto. I've always kept a pulse on the market, technology updates, and so on. But where I hit the switch was toward the end of this year or mid-year 2021, where previous couple years I've been in Web2 tech. I became much more literate and understood Web2, traditional web under the hood, and was building in this space. Man, this is exciting, but I also felt like, okay, this is already built. Everything is established. There's like not a new land. And there's been booms in tech where first was the .com boom, then became the apps, and then became mesh with mobile, and everything has been fairly stagnant in terms of innovation. So when Web3 came out, or when I learned about Web3 from a builder standpoint, that's where the fireworks happened. But throughout these years, I have been advocating for crypto, right? Not to the depth that I am a preacher to the holy level now, but I would tell my friends and family, hey, like, check crypto. This is very interesting technology. I understood the premise of Bitcoin, of this decentralized currency, store of value. So I believed off that. I also viewed current authoritative government in a certain type of viewpoint. So crypto was a good solution. And the biggest case that happened, tying everything to today's event, was with my parents. So I've told my parents, buy Bitcoin. I would step out my room like, buy Bitcoin. That's the first thing I would yell, or I was like, buy some ETH, buy Ethereum. And they're like, ¿qué es eso? What's that in Spanish? I'm like, okay, so check this. This is what Bitcoin does. This is how it works. And it's fun to do these exercises with people because they'll give their reply, like, why? If I can't see it, what value is it? Like, okay, well, you can't see all the money in your bank account. Does that mean this is not real? And they're like, oh, well, it's in banks. Banks work with the government. Okay, but that's the thing. what's the government protocol process for the Federal Reserve standpoint, and then they'll stick with you for a few points, and then you'll hit a point of death where like, I don't get it. It's not for me. It's totally fine. You shouldn't be a maximalist and force things down people's throat. But it is an interesting experience to articulate what blockchain is to people. And for my family, I've been doing it for some time. This event today, I told my parents, and my mom is a big Facebook user. I'm like, do you hear Facebook's changing their name? And they're like, what? To what? Like, what's going on? I'm like, okay, so check this out. Now, how about I was telling you about blockchain, this digital world, the infrastructure, new rules, new system. Well, Facebook is changing their name to Meta, which stands for derivative from metaverse, which is this digital world, which is where blockchain and Bitcoin and Ether and speculating Libra and their own blockchain is going to rise. But Facebook is going into this game, going into this world I've been mentioning. And this time they looked at me like, oh, like an authoritative company. Facebook is a company that they know and respect to the scale that it works at. Like, okay. And that's the point of Web3 and where we are. You and I in this space being in Web3 is we're still very early and there's a lot of uncertainty for the future, but this is the process. When you're an early adopter, there will be a lot of friction and resistance to adopt and make technology or new innovations mainstream. And I give credit to the early Bitcoin OGs, the Nakamoto fanatics, where there were true cryptographers, where they were really focused on creating new infrastructure and systems, where there was no base value, there was no billion-dollar market, there was no DeFi, there's no people trading it at this scale. People were using it for the sake of believing it, and they cultivated a new system and processes and protocol and consensus mechanism at an economic level that created Bitcoin to the scale. And Bitcoin was the stepping stone for the further innovations like Ethereum and Cardano and Tezos, Avalanche, and these blockchains that we've seen arise. So a lot of kudos to those people. I think today was a big day for those individuals because they've been in the space, they've earned their scars, they've been advocates, they've been pushing this belief where so much friction, it's so hard. It's hard to hold conviction onto something for a long time, especially if everyone tells you, no, you're crazy. It's hard. So a lot of respect to those firm believers and that had the conviction, but most importantly, worked on making it happen. Because if they didn't take action, this belief, this inertia of energy wouldn't happen. There would be too much resistance to make this concept of blockchain work. But these people fought. And today a major battle for Web3 was won. Facebook, $1 trillion company, that's 1,000 billions. That's more money than a lot of governments around the world, is telling us that their priority is going to be in the metaverse, in Web3, with blockchain. These people are the smartest people in the world. They hire folks from Stanford, they hire people from Harvard and universities and past amazing building experience. They pay the best salaries, they pay the best bonuses, the best perks. I've been in these ecosystems and their recruitment system is it's like a working Disneyland to the point. Like they literally, the Facebook HQ was designed by the architect and designer that built Disneyland, right? These people are giving it their all to recruit talent. And the fact that the company is now positioning itself and making the North Star in blockchain and in the Web3, it's exciting. It's exciting. As day one from these videos is that we started learning because the future pioneers are here. The future builders are going to be creating this new system that hasn't been created. And a token like this, a big victory for the space like this, is a sign of validation. Now, on the contrary side, how does this look for the future of Web3? It could be very dangerous if Facebook, who's known as a centralized and authoritative company, creates blockchain and Web3 that breaks the principles in the first place, because blockchain was built around the belief and core aspect of decentralization. Give power to the people. Facebook and Google and Fang, they don't give power to the people. They never have. So for them to piggyback off this new narrative of giving power to the people, so where the danger lies. And this is where Mark articulated his vision. He's aware of all the mistakes that Facebook has gone through, the ones that he's arose, and they want to make it transparent. But it's a company. They're going to have a business model. They're going to have stakeholders. They're going to have protocol, secret labs, you name it, to make this metaverse as powerful as it can. And that can be dangerous because we don't know the intention, and the creators don't know the intention as well, is they're just creating. This thing could take a life of its own. And with the existing culture and history of Facebook, is that going to be a positive thing? That's the big debate. And I do give the take that the operating system of a company is its culture, and Facebook has a tainted culture. So the operating system of this metaverse and the builders, that could be fairly frightening. Regardless, I think the whole objective of this video was to view it as a positive victory for the space. Validation is in here. Web3 is here to stay. If you've been in here, congratulations. This is a big victory for all of us. This is a first time I feel at this scale, okay, like, you know, we've been stacking our chips, we've been dedicating our lives to this space. It's just nice to get validation. And once again, like, shout out to the people who've been here for years and years. They're the ones that made it happen. But if you're watching this and you're new or you're thinking of getting in here, we're still so early. That's the beautiful thing too. So it's an exciting time. History was made, and history will be made tomorrow. I didn't even talk about the history transaction of a CryptoPunk being sold for $500 million. Sketchy stuff happening, maybe some money laundering, exploit through a flash loan in DeFi, but crazy moves are like this happening. We're in the Wild West, and let's make history. I think we could definitely do it. All right, so thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.